There's the second one, Sean.
Oh, little puppy.
Hold on, I got two right here. No, there's two right here, two little ones.
Obviously, when we pull up, we're asking like, hey, is that your dog? They said when they approached it, it started to growl at them. They were obviously hesitant, but they're like, it doesn't look in good condition.
We found one dog in there that was barely alive. It's literally skin and bones.
Oh my God. That is just ridiculous.
Welcome to The Works. In today's episode, we're taken to the skies with Hillsborough County Mosquito Control to find out how they combat the spread of disease and the rising mosquito population.
So when it comes to mosquitoes, how exactly are we combating them in the sky?
Nobody complains about larvae, they complain about mosquitoes, and specifically adult mosquitoes, female mosquitoes, the ones that bite you, right? But it's a lot easier to control adult mosquitoes by controlling the larvae. What we do is we use a larvicide product that attacks the larvae in the swamps and the mangrove areas along the coast here. We stunt their growth so they never grow up and become adult mosquitoes.
In a world where loyal companions await, one place stands as their beacon of hope. The Pet Resource Center of Hillsborough County, where you can adopt your very own superhero. Adopt a dog. Find your sidekick and unlock the power of unconditional love. Suit up, show up, and adopt today. For more information, visit hcfl.gov/pets.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners Virtual Workshop on the Comprehensive Plan Amendment. At this time, we have a roll call, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
Hagan, Cameron Cepeda, Bowles,
Present.
Cullen,
Here.
Miller, Myers,
Here.
Wolstall.
Oh boy, we sound sad. I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to read into the records of Commissioner Hagan and Commissioner Miller's letter from both. This is from Commissioner Hagan. Please be advised that due to the previous planned travel to manage county business in Washington, D.C., I will not be able to attend the June 10th Comprehensive Plan Workshop. If you have any questions regarding this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. Warmly regards, Commissioner Miller. From Commissioner Hagan, please be advised that I am unable to attend today's scheduled workshop due to a prior commitment. Sincerely, Commissioner Hagan. Okay, so at this time, I'll turn everything over to Melissa Leinhardt. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and hello, Commissioners. Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. I'm here to introduce the items today for our workshop, June 10th, 2026. Before I do that, I just wanted to update everyone a little matter of cleanup business. Item A4, which is HCCPA 26-12. That item on Causeway Boulevard, that is asked for a continuance to the July cycle of plan amendments. So you would see that item scheduled for a briefing and a public hearing later this fall. If there are no questions on that, I can go ahead and introduce item A1, which will be presented by Sophia Garantiva. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let me just share my screen. All right. Well, thank you, Commissioners. Sophia Garantiva, Planning Commission staff, here presenting a status update on the Urban Expansion Area Study for the Little Manatee South and I-4 Corridor Study areas. And I just want to confirm that my screen is being shared.
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. So since the last update, which was via memorandum in April, the existing conditions and market analysis work has been completed for both the study areas and the public engagement efforts have continued for the study. There is a lot of information that I'll be going over from the technical reports. So I'll just be doing a high level key findings takeaway overview as part of the presentation, but it is going to take a little bit of time. But for any of those who are interested in reviewing the reports in more detail, they are available through the links that were provided in the agenda item summary. And then before I get into the update, I think it's helpful to briefly revisit how the study originated and just refresh everyone's memories. So this process started with unincorporated Hillsborough County's future land use update, which updated the urban service area and growth management policies. During that effort, staff noted that the projections indicated that the policy of accommodating 80% of new growth and redevelopment within the urban service area would not be met by 2050. So at this board's direction, staff identified the 4 areas for potential expansion of the urban service area as shown on the map. And then again, these areas were initially identified by analyzing the locations outside the USA where population growth was projected to occur. Additional analysis considered comprehensive plan policy, the concentrations of recent development activity, location of environmental and publicly owned lands, and the distribution of developable and redevelopable land. This analysis was documented in a report and presented back to the board on March 6th of 2024 and is available on the project website. And then at that meeting, this board again directed the 2-phase approach, which phase 1 focused on the Baum and Waiwama areas, which has since been completed. And then phase 2 is the subject of today's update, which are the Interstate 4 corridor and Little Manatee South study areas. And again, which brings us back to the goal of the study itself, which is to provide recommendations to this board on whether and where to consider the future expansion of the USA using the Urban Expansion Area, or UEA, policy framework found in Future Land Use Objective 1.3. And again, the UEA framework requires a more comprehensive planning effort before any USA expansion is considered, and that includes evaluating infrastructure, transportation, environmental resources, fiscal impacts, public facilities, and community input. And then before we get into the findings of the existing conditions report and market study, this slide provides a quick overview of where we are in the overall study process. The green represents the Little Manatee South timeline, and the purple represents the I-4 corridor study area timeline, and the yellow shows where we are today. Again, public engagement has continued with round one being completed and round two currently underway. The next major phase of the study will focus on developing and evaluating land use scenarios. And then again, as mentioned, we are currently in the second round of public engagement. Both study areas are following the same engagement framework, with each round building on the previous one. The round one focused on existing conditions and initial community input. Round two is helping inform scenario development through a place type activity. Round three will present draft scenarios for feedback, and then round four will focus on the preferred scenario and refine recommendations. In addition to community meetings, the project team has continued outreach to stakeholder and community groups representing a variety of interests in both study areas. We also have provided updates to the Planning Commission, and I'll touch a little bit on some of those study area specific efforts and what we've heard from the community later on in the presentation. Staff and the consultant team have continued coordination with county departments, partner agencies, and the adjacent jurisdictions to those study areas throughout the technical advisory committee. And this group has provided valuable data, technical feedback, and support throughout the study, including assistance at community meetings. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank them for their time and continued involvement. So now moving into the existing conditions analysis. Again, this is the part of the presentation where it will be a little data heavy, but I will do my best to just focus on the key takeaways. And we'll start with Little Manatee South. Again, this is the Little Manatee South study area outlined in red. The area is generally bounded by the Little Manatee River to the north, US 41 to the east, and the county line to the south, and Interstate 75 to the west. In total, the study area is approximately 10,213 acres. In terms of demographics, the Little Manatee South study area is home to approximately 8,860 residents living in about 3,500 households. The area does have an older population profile than the county overall, and while the area remains predominantly rural today, it has continued to attract new residents over the past decade and is projected to continue growing through 2050. In terms of land use and environmental considerations, agriculture remains the dominant land use throughout much of the Little Manatee South study area, with more than 2/3 of the study area designated as agricultural Rule 1 to 5 future land use category, and residential development is generally concentrated along US 41 and the Little Manatee River. And this map here shows the environmental sensitivity throughout the study area, with the darker shades representing lands with greater environmental sensitivity. So in this area, the most environmentally sensitive land is located generally along the Little Manatee River and the Curiosity and Wildcat Creeks. For transportation, US 41 currently serves as the primary roadway through the study area. There is limited bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure and relatively few programmed transportation improvements. The map also shows several long-range planning efforts, including the proposed Fort Hammer Road extension, the potential future I-75 interchange, proposed trail corridors, and the future I-75 widening. In terms of utilities, there are currently no county water or wastewater facilities serving the study area. The only exception is a small area in the Sun City subdivision. The planned service expansions in the greater South County area, which is the one water facility, will not serve the Little Manatee South area. Any future expansion of water or wastewater service to this area would be accomplished one of three ways: either extending the pipes across the Little Manatee River, relying on private developers to build new facilities and then turn them over to the county, or creating an interlocal agreement with Manatee County to the south. In terms of public and emergency services, they are generally provided by facilities located outside the study area boundary. There are currently no fire stations, sheriff substations, or traditional public schools located within the study area. There are 2 future fire stations that have been identified, but they remain unfunded, and the study area currently contains 3 parks. So the existing conditions tell us where the study is today. The market study helps us understand what the market may support in the future. And because markets operate regionally, the analysis evaluated a broader market area than the Little Manatee South study area itself. As you can see on the map, the different colored areas are the full extent of the market study. In terms of the market study takeaways, the residential development represented the largest market opportunity. The analysis also identified support for additional office, industrial, and retail development. It's important to remember that these figures represent the demand within the broader market area and are not development forecasts for the study area itself, and are intended to inform the scenario development. So then going back to public engagement, in Little Manatee South, outreach has included 2 rounds of community meetings and online survey, public comments submitted through email and web forms, and field outreach, as performed by the consultant team. And then this slide just highlights the priorities identified through the survey, with protecting natural areas and wildlife and maintaining agricultural land ranking the highest. The results generally reinforce what we've been hearing out in the community. That, again, those 2 themes have remained consistent throughout the engagement process, but we have also heard concerns related to flooding, water supply, and the proposed I-75 interchange. Overall, many of the discussions focused on how future growth could affect the area's character, environmental resources, and infrastructure. With that, we can shift geographies and take a look at some of the key findings from the I-4 corridor area. Again, the I-4 corridor study area boundary here is shown in purple, which encompasses approximately 37,000 acres. And this area generally extends from the USA boundary and Tampa Bypass Canal to the west, to Plant City city boundaries to the east, and from Sam Allen Road and Thanona-Sassa Road to the north to State Road 60 to the south. And for additional context, the Plant City vision area here is shown in yellow. The I-4 corridor is significantly larger than the Little Manatee South area, with approximately 31,000 residents and more than 10,000 households today in terms of demographics. The area also has a younger population profile and larger household size than what we saw in Little Manatee South. And looking ahead, the corridor is projected to continue growing through 2050 as well. In terms of land use and environmental considerations, the I-4 corridor has a more diverse mix of land uses than the Little Manatee South area, although agricultural lands remain an important part of the area's character. The environmental sensitivity map shows that the environmental resources are distributed throughout the corridor. Many of the most environmentally sensitive areas are shown, again, shown in the darker shading, are located north of I-4. One of the things that stands out from a transportation aspect in the I-4 corridor area is the access to the regional transportation network. The area has direct access to I-4, I-75, US 92, and State Roads 60 and 574, which support the residents, businesses, and freight movement throughout the region. The report also identified several planned transportation improvements, including widening projects on I-4 and I-75, and then other capital improvement projects as shown in the county's capital improvement program. Utility conditions in I-4, again, are a little different than Little Manatee South. There are pockets of utility service throughout the area, primarily through Hillsborough County to the west and Plant City to the east, but significant portions of the study area still rely on well and septic systems. And then in terms of public facilities and emergency services, we are in this area is generally more established than the I-4 corridor than what we saw in Little Manatee South. The area currently has 2 fire stations, 8 parks, and is served by 22 schools, including 9 located within the study area. And there are several planned facility improvements that were identified, though some remain unfunded. So again, this area has a more developed network of public facilities and services in place, though continued coordination with the service providers will remain important as growth occurs. And again, like Little Manatee South, the market analysis looked at areas beyond the study boundary to account for the broader regional market trends. And again, the goal is not to predict what exactly will occur within the study area, but rather to understand what the market may be able to support over time. Key takeaway from the I-4 corridor area was the strong demand for employment generating uses, particularly industrial development. The analysis also identified additional demand for office and retail uses, and that's not entirely surprising given the corridor's access to that regional transportation network. Again, in terms of public engagement activities to date, we have had 1 round of community meetings in the area, with the second round occurring this week, a survey, stakeholder meetings, public comments, and field outreach. And then again, this slide highlights the priorities identified through the survey, with maintaining agriculture and ranking the highest, followed by protecting natural areas and wildlife. Very similar to Little Manatee South, but the priorities were flipped a little bit. And again, while the priorities were similar to those identified in the Little Manatee South area, the conversations around those priorities were somewhat different. The themes identified through public engagement in this area focused on rural character, infrastructure, flooding and drainage, environmental resources and water quality, and also utility service choice. In I-4, many of those discussions reflected the challenges associated with existing growth and development pressures, as opposed to future growth and development pressures in the Little Manatee South area. And again, that distinction will be important as we move into scenario development. So we have established where the studies are today, what the market area must support over time, and what we've heard from the community so far. The next phase is where those pieces are going to come together. We have, again, the round 2 meetings for the I-4 corridor starting this week, with the virtual meeting tonight. And we will be working to develop and evaluate scenarios for each of the study areas and present them during the round 3 community meetings. Based on that feedback, the study team will refine the scenarios, complete the fiscal and infrastructure analyses, and then identify the preferred scenario. Those findings will help inform the final recommendations that ultimately come back to the Planning Commission and to this board. And that concludes my presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Yeah, I don't see anyone in the queue have a question. I don't see a hand up.
I've
Okay.
got my hand up. It just might not be.
No, I can't see it. Okay, go ahead. Commissioner Westbrook.
Thank you. Based off of some observations of the WVR2 expansions that we did, I remember that staff basically used kind of like a default, it's 2,500 acres, and we're assuming R4, so that's 10,000 homes. And that's what was advertised repeatedly to the community. So then they said over and over, oh, you're approving 10,000 homes. When in fact, it'll be nowhere near 10,000 added homes on what we expanded, because of the variables that weren't taken into consideration, such as that over half of that area had already been developed at 2 homes per acre, on top of the fact, and this is the big variable, Ms. Leinhardt, that I would like to figure out how to, in what way you can help plan for the calculation, is that we know there's going to be commercial, right? And that commercial eats at the number of potential homes. And that number was very deceiving, not only to me, the other commissioners, but also the community. It's because we never really did these type of expansions, in my opinion. And now that I've seen it happen, I want to know if there's a way to incorporate some of that, some of those observations that we had add where we know that, like, let's say that this is 2,500 more acres of developable land or whatever, that we don't just say, okay, times 4, because we're assuming a baseline of residential 4, that we know that there might be some area, some ratios of commercial area that we know might be typical with development, and that you can try and apply that so that people get a more realistic outcome of what to expect. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. For the record, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. I'm sure Sophia, because she was involved in Mama and RP2, as well as both of the I-4 and the Little Manatee South studies, probably has something to add. But I will say, from a kind of general perspective, when we updated the future land use section a couple of years ago, goal 1, which is where all that language is about the urban service area, the rural area, and then also the expansion areas. The expansion areas were added at that time, so they were a completely new animal, and that language was crafted for that update. One of the tests of the urban expansion area is, how do you provide things that aren't just housing? So we are definitely looking at this from a holistic perspective and looking at what kind of jobs are needed, where are people going to shop. You know, we don't want to be creating food deserts and things like that if you're along I-4 and you don't have a grocery store near you. We're certainly looking at that, and especially with the market analysis, that will inform that piece of the puzzle. Sophia, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you, and Sophia Garantiva. For the Waimama and Baum area, when we were directed to update and go ahead and expand the urban service area in those 2 areas, that residential 4 was also part of the direction to not go above that in terms of density or intensity. So that's what we tried to do in terms of WBR2 and RP2. And then Ms. Leinhardt was correct that the market study is part of this effort. The urban expansion area studies is going to inform a lot of the non-residential recommendations that will hopefully come up from the study. And it will not just be residential. There is going to be a mix of recommendations for many types of land uses.
Okay, and the only other thing that I would add is that when we're getting departmental feedback, I remembered asking one of the planning commissioners why they voted no, and their only reason for voting no on the other ones that we did is because one of the departments basically said, you know, don't know, need more information or something. And he was like, well, can't you just take like a best guess of that? You know, you're expanding an estimated amount of homes. You know how much service each home would add to your department of needs. So can we just make sure that we promote that there's maybe a more fruitful engagement of feedback from the departments on like this is what we expect will be needed in this area of new service impacts. But other than that, I appreciate it, and I would make an observation on the I-4 corridor that people should be very aware of the city's abilities to continue to annex, which is out of our purview. And you can kind of see that those lines are merging in that area one way or the other. So I would just like to make that observation. Thank you, Commissioner Myers.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anyone else. Okay, thank you so much, Sophia, for the overview on the urban expansion area. Melissa, move to HC CPA 2602.
Yes, ma'am. And if I may just address Commissioner Wolstall, just to kind of clean up his comments there. I wanted to say thank you. Those are very good comments. We are engaging with the county departments and all the other stakeholders that are involved in these 2 areas continually, and we will continue to do so. That is great feedback, making sure that we can actually do what the plan is going to say we should do. We'll be making sure along the way that we keep them in the loop. So thank you for those good comments. So that brings us to item A2, which will be presented by Willow Mickey. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm William McKee with your Planning Commission staff. I'm just going to have HTV pull up my PowerPoint. I will be briefing HC CPA 26-02, which is located at 7607 to 7709 Williams Road and Bessie Dix Road. Next slide. This request is a privately initiated large-scale map amendment. It is made up of 3 parcels that total approximately 81.9 acres. The applicant is requesting to expand the urban service area. This amendment is associated with HCCPA 26-03, which is a request to change the future land use category from residential 1 to residential 2 and residential 4. Next slide. This plan amendment is part of the April 2026 cycle, located in the rural area, and is within the limits of the Chenota-Sassa Community Plan. And as I mentioned, it is associated with HCCPA 2603. Next slide. Here's an aerial photo of the site outlined in pink, and the blue line indicates the urban service area boundary. It is located north of Interstate 4, east of Williams Road, and south of Joe Ebert Road. Within the vicinity of this site, there are single-family uses surrounding the site on all sides. To the east, there is a middle school, and to the south are agricultural uses. North of the site is a cemetery, and further east is a clinical treatment center. Next slide. The amendment would bring 81.9 acres into the urban service area, requiring at a minimum connection to public water and sewer. Next slide. And that concludes the briefing on this item. I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any hand, but any commissioner, if you have something to say, go ahead and speak, because I can't see if your hand is up. So it appears we have no one. Okay, thank you so much, Willow. We'll move right to A3.
Yes, which is also Willow Mickey. She'll be doing the next presentation as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Willow Mickey again with your Planning Commission staff. I will be briefing HCCPA 26-03, located at 7607 to 7709 Williams Road and Bessie Dix Road. Next slide. This request is a privately initiated large-scale map amendment made up of 3 parcels that total approximately 81.9 acres. The request is to change the land use designation of these parcels from residential 1 to residential 2 and residential 4. Next slide. This plan amendment is part of the April 2026 cycle, located in the rural area, and is within the limits of the Chenota-Sassa Community Plan. It is also associated with HCCPA 2602, which is requesting to bring the same parcels into the urban service area. There's also a very small portion within the CHHA, located on the southeastern portion of one of the parcels. Next slide. Here is the aerial photo of the site. Just to note, the original request did include parcel 61568 with a proposed designation of Res 9. However, this has since been removed from the application. Additionally, the initial application sought a Res 4 designation, but this has been revised to Res 2 and Res 4. Next slide. The site is in the residential 1 land use category. Res 1 allows for the consideration of agricultural, farms, ranches, residential, neighborhood commercial, offices, and multi-purpose projects. Surrounding land use categories include Res 1 to the east, south, and west, with Res 4 to the north. Public quasi-public is located to the northwest, and additional Res 4 lies further southeast. There's also Res 2 located northeast of the site if you travel from the site approximately 1 mile north and a half mile east. Next slide. The request is to change the site to residential 2 and residential 4. Residential 2 allows for the consideration of uses such as agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, and multi-purpose projects. And residential 4 allows for uses such as agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, and multi-purpose projects. Next slide. This slide outlines the potential impacts of the requested land use change. Currently, under residential 1, the site can be considered for up to 81 dwelling units and 891,891 square feet of non-residential. The change to residential 2 and residential 4 would allow for the consideration of 189 dwelling units and 891,891 square feet of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment will result in a potential increase in development potential by allowing consideration of higher residential density. Next slide. This concludes the briefing on this item. I'm here for any questions you may have. Thank you.
We have any commissioner who has a question? Okay, thank you so much, Willa, for that. We'll move on to A4.
Yes, ma'am. A4 is continued to the July cycle of plan
Oh,
amendments.
that's right.
That brings us to item A5, which will be presented by Tyreek Royal. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Terry Coyle, Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting HCCPA 2613 at 2909 Dare Road. The request is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment with approximately 1.12 acres. The request is change the land use designation from residential 1 to residential 2. The location of the site is in the eastern portion of Hillsborough County. This is part of the April 2026 cycle. It's located within the rural area, not within the limits of the community plan. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined in pink. The Plant City boundary is outlined by the blue dashed line. The site is located west of Durr Road and adjacent to single family homes and a church to the east. The site is currently in the residential 1 future land use category, which allows for the consideration of agricultural, farms, ranches, residential neighborhood commercial, offices, and multi-purpose projects. Commercial uses are subject to locational criteria. As mentioned, the applicant is requesting to change the land use designation from residential 1 to residential 2. The residential 2 category allows for agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, and multi-purpose projects. Onto the impacts. The change from residential 1 to residential 2 would allow for an increase in development potential. This will allow for higher residential density. The density of 1 dwelling unit per gross acre would increase to 2 dwelling units per gross acre, while the commercial intensity would remain the same at a 0.25 FAR, or approximately 12,000 square feet in non-residential uses. And this concludes my briefing on this item. I'm here for any questions.
Any commissioner has a question? I don't see anyone. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, that brings us to another presentation by Tyreek, which will be item A6.
Perfect. Get this pulled up. Hello again, Terry Crow, Planning Commission staff, and this is item HCCPA 2614, located at 15640 Carton Lake Road. This request is privately initiated, small-scale map amendment with approximately 9.57 acres. The request is to change the land use designation from agricultural rural 1 to 5 to agricultural state 1 to 2.5. The location of the site is in the southeastern portion of Hillsborough County. This is part of the April 2026 cycle. It is located within the rural area, within the limits of the BOM and South Shore area-wide systems community plans. Here's an aerial photo of the site outlined in pink. The urban service area is represented by the blue line, and it's approximately 1/2 mile away from the site. Ashton Farms is located to the east of the subject site. The site is an agricultural rural 1 to 5 future land use category, which allows for the consideration for farms, ranches, feedlots, residential neighborhood commercial, offices, industrial uses related to agricultural and mining related activities. As mentioned, the applicant is requesting to change the land use category from AR 1 to 5 to agricultural estate 1 to 2.5. The agricultural estate 1 to 2.5 future land use category allows for farms, ranches, residential, neighborhood commercial, offices, and multi-purpose projects. The change from AR 1 to 5 to AE 1 to 2.5 would allow for an increase in development potential by allowing higher residential density. The density of 1 dwelling unit per 5 gross acres would increase to 1 dwelling unit per every 2.5 acres. The commercial intensity would remain the same at a 0.25 FAR, or approximately 104,000 square feet. And this concludes my briefing on this item, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much. Any commissioner has any questions? I don't see anyone or hear anyone. Go ahead, Melissa.
All right, thank you. Item A7 will be presented by Lily Ann Lenahan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lillian Lenahan, Planning Commission staff. I am here to present HCCPA 2615, which is located at 1908 Front Street. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 0.26 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from residential 4 to residential 12. This is the general location map. It is located within the urban service area and within the limits of the Valrico Community Plan, and is located north of Main Street, west of Front Street, and east of 4th Street. Here is an aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink. There are single-family residential uses to the northwest and south of the site, and directly west of the site is an existing commercial use that is a restaurant known as Fat Willie's Fish Camp, and directly south of the site is a county-owned park. Currently, the future land use designation is residential 4. This category allows for a maximum of 4 dwelling units per gross acre and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.25. The residential 4 designation allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, and multipurpose projects. Currently, the site is surrounded by the residential 4 designation on all sides, and there's some residential 6 further south of the site. The applicant is proposing to amend the future land use category to residential 12. The residential 12 category allows for a maximum of 12 dwelling units per gross acre and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.5. This designation allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multipurpose projects, and mixed-use development. Under existing conditions with the residential 4 designation, the site can be considered for a maximum of 1 dwelling unit or 2,831 square feet of non-residential uses. And under the proposed future land use designation of residential 12, the site can be considered for a maximum of 3 dwelling units or 5,662 square feet of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment would allow for an increase in development potential by allowing higher residential density and greater commercial intensity. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions? I don't see any commissioners, and I don't hear any commissioners. Okay, so we'll move right on. Melissa?
Yes, ma'am. Item A8 will be presented by Alexis Myers.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present HCCPA 2616, located at 12401 North 22nd Street. Next slide, please. This is a privately initiated map amendment that is small in scale and approximately 13.83 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use designation from residential 20 to residential 35. Next slide, please. This is the general location map. It is in the urban service area and within the limits of the University Area Community Plan. It is located east of North 22nd Street and south of University Club Drive. Next slide, please. Here's an aerial of the site. The site is outlined in pink, and the blue dotted line indicates the Tampa jurisdictional boundary. The subject property is the Villas at Unison Senior Living Facility. The site is in the centers and connections, FEMA Flood Zone X, and currently has wetlands on the property. The Seacoast at Upton Oaks Assisted Living Facility is located to the west, and additional group homes are also located to the northwest across North 22nd Street and further southeast. The Viridian Apartments in College Town at USF off-campus housing are to the north. The Park at Orvieto Apartments are to the west, and more multifamily uses are further east and south. The James A. Haley Veterans Hospital is to the northeast, and additional public quasi-public institutional uses are located to the south and southwest. The University of South Florida is to the east across Spruce Downs Boulevard. Single-family uses are to the east and further north. And lastly, University Mall and the Sunray Cinema movie theater is directly south. Next slide, please. Currently, the future land use designation is residential 20. The Res 20 designation allows 20 dwelling units per gross acre and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.75. The Res 20 category allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. Other future land use categories shown in this map include Innovation Corridor Mixed Use 35 and Office Commercial 20 to the south and Residential 6 to the east. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to amend the future land use category to Residential 35, which allows 35 dwelling units per gross acre or a maximum floor area ratio of 1.0. The Res 35 designation allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. Non-residential uses not part of a vertically integrated building shall meet established locational criteria. Next slide, please. Next are the impacts as far as the existing conditions. Currently under Res 20, the site could consider up to 276 dwelling units or 451,826 square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed Res 35 designation, the site could consider up to 484 dwelling units or 602,434 square feet of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment will result in the increase in development potential by allowing higher residential density and non-residential intensity. Next slide, please. And this concludes my presentation for HCCPA 2616. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I don't see anyone in the queue to speak. Okay, thank you.
All right. We have
Melissa?
3 items left, and they are independent applications, but they are there's a relationship among them that Lily will describe. She's item A9. Lillian Linehan will present the first item.
Again, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lillian Linehan, Planning Commission staff, here to present HCCPA 2618, located at Causeway Boulevard, and this is sub-area A. This request comes from the Florida State University Future Land Use Map Study that was conducted in 2024. As part of this Future Land Use Section update, Planning Commission staff engaged with students in an FSU capstone class to study 4 different areas of unincorporated Hillsborough County, where there's been historical and recent development pressure, as well as areas that were identified as needing to be researched based upon current development trends. These areas included subsets of the university area, the Port of Tampa, Brandon Crossings, and Causeway Boulevard. This effort is part of that study and the recommendations on next steps. And due to the size and the varying recommendations in the Causeway Boulevard study area, staff decided to break down the study area into 3 separate requests. And this will be the first of 3 total plan amendments being publicly initiated for this area. This request for this portion of the study area is to go from the currently adopted future land use category of residential 6 to neighborhood mixed use 6. And this map amendment is large in scale and approximately 73.12 acres. This is the general location map. This amendment is part of the April 2026 cycle of amendments. It is within the urban service area and within the limits of the Palm River Progress Community Plan. Additionally, a portion of this application is located within the coastal high hazard area. This map shows the location of all 3 publicly initiated amendments along Causeway Boulevard, with 2618, which is this current amendment, outlined in purple. 2619 is outlined in green, and 2620 is outlined in dark green. Here's an aerial of the site for 2618. The site is outlined in pink. The site is south of Causeway Boulevard and is bounded by 54th Street to the west and extends to 76th Street to the east. Existing land uses in the site area include residential, vacant, public, quasi-public, institutional uses. And the uses to the north of the site along Causeway Boulevard are comprised of mainly industrial and commercial uses. And to the south of the site is mainly single-family residential uses. Currently, the future land use designation is residential 6. The residential 6 category allows for a maximum of 6 dwelling units per gross acre and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.25. The residential 6 designation allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use development. The site is bordered by Office Commercial 20 to the north and east, directly along Causeway Boulevard, with some light industrial along the western edge of the site, and south of the site is residential 6. It's proposed to change the future land use category to neighborhood mixed use 6. The neighborhood mixed use 6 category allows for a maximum of 6 dwelling units per gross acre and a maximum floor area ratio of 0.25 for neighborhood commercial uses, while offices, research, corporate parks, multi-purpose, and mixed use projects may achieve a maximum floor area ratio of 0.35. This designation allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, research corporate park uses, multi-purpose, and clustered residential and or mixed-use projects. Under the existing conditions with the residential 6 designation, the site can be considered for a maximum of 438 dwelling units, or 796,276 square feet of non-residential uses. Under the proposed future land use designation of neighborhood mixed use 6, the site can be considered for a maximum of 438 dwelling units, or approximately 1,100,000 square feet of non-residential uses. The proposed amendment would allow for an increase in the allowable range of uses and the maximum allowable intensity of specific uses with no increase in density. This concludes my presentation for 2618, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
And thank you so much. I don't see any commissioners that have their hand up. Okay.
All right. Well, the next item will be presented by me. Good afternoon. If HTV wouldn't mind, if HTV wouldn't mind sharing this one, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present to you item HC CPA 26-19, which is Causeway Boulevard Sub Area B. Next slide, please. This request is publicly initiated. It's small in scale at approximately 21.31 acres in size. As Ms. Lenahan previously mentioned in her presentation on the last item, the impetus behind this request is the Florida State University Future Land Use Map study that was conducted in the second half of 2024. This is the second of 3 total plan amendments being publicly initiated for this area. And this particular request is for the portion of the study area to go from the currently adopted future land use category of residential 9 to community mixed use 12. Next slide, please. This request is part of the April 2026 cycle of plan amendments. The site is located within the urban service area. It is also located within the limits of the Palm River Progress Village community plan. Next slide, please. This is an aerial of the site with the site outlined in pink. You can see that the site is separated by a parcel. The outlined in pink areas are the residential 9 that I mentioned, and the area between was omitted from the plan amendment because that already has a residential 20 designation. So this is an aerial map showing the site along the north side of Causeway Boulevard. 78th Street is the eastern limit and 66th is the western limit, again in the Palm River area. Along this portion of Causeway Boulevard, the uses are generally characterized as commercial in nature with various auto sales, auto repair businesses. They're interspersed with some vacant properties, offices, open storage uses. To the east of 86th Street, so beyond the subject site, just off the aerial, is the Coca-Cola plant to orient yourself. And to the north of the subject property, there are mostly single-family residential lots. Next slide, please. This slide shows the adopted future land use categories in the area with the site outlined in black. The site again is residential 9, which allows for the consideration of agricultural uses, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed use development. The maximum density that can be considered is up to 9 dwelling units per gross acre, and the maximum intensity in the residential 9 category is a 0.05 or 175,000 square feet, whichever is less intense. In addition, non-residential development that exceeds a 0.35 floor area ratio must be for office or residential support uses like schools or churches. There's a portion in between the 2 subject properties that I mentioned that is residential 20, as well as more residential 20 to the east of 78th Street. Further north, the area is also Res 9 like the subject property is today, and again characterized by residential development. To the south of Causeway in this area, we see office commercial 20, which is one of our most intensive future land use categories for those parcels that are mainly fronting to the south directly onto Causeway. And then those categories transition to a bit lower intensity and density with residential 6 and residential 9 as you travel further southward. There's also suburban mixed use 6 to the south, as well as a small portion of public and quasi-public. The request to change the subject, next slide, please. The request is to change the subject property from residential 9 to community mixed use 12, which is represented by that pink color that you see. And that would better reflect the uses that are currently in the area and that tend to be more intensive in this Causeway Boulevard area. The community mixed use 12 future land use category would allow for the consideration of up to 12 dwelling units per gross acre or up to a 0.5 floor area ratio. The CMU 12 category also allows for the consideration of agricultural, residential, commercial uses, office uses, research corporate park uses, light industrial, and or mixed use projects. Next slide, please. As far as the impacts are concerned, currently under the residential 9 designation, the site may be considered for up to 191 dwelling units or 464,000 square feet of non-residential uses. With a designation of commercial community mixed use 12, the site could be developed with up to 255 dwelling units, with the non-residential square footage would not change. The proposed change would allow for an increase in development potential by allowing higher residential density, an increase in the range of commercial uses, and would also introduce the potential of light industrial uses. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation, and I'm here for any questions that you all may have.
And thank you, Melissa.
Thank
I don't
you.
see anyone in the queue, so we will go to A11.
Yes, that's the last item, and that will be presented by Jillian Massey. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Jillian Massey with Planning Commission staff. I'm here to present HC CPA 26-20, which is the third and final of the 3 publicly initiated amendments on Causeway Boulevard, and we're calling this Sub-Area C. This request is publicly initiated by us as Planning Commission staff. This particular amendment area is large in scale at approximately 101 acres. As previously mentioned, the rationale behind this request is the FSU Future Land Use Map study that was conducted in 2024. And as I mentioned, this is the third of 3 total plan amendments being initiated for this area. The request for this portion of the area is to go from the currently adopted future land use category of residential 9 to residential 20. This request is part of the April 2026 cycle of plan amendments. It's located in the urban service area and within the limits of the Palm River Progress Village Community Plan. This is an aerial map of the site outlined in pink. The site's located along portions of both the north and south sides of Causeway Boulevard between 78th Street and US Highway 301 in the Palm River area. Along this portion of Causeway, the uses are generally characterized as commercial and light industrial in nature, with various auto repair businesses, some vacant properties, offices, and storage uses. There are single-family residential homes within the vicinity of this area, both further north and south off of Causeway. And a Coca-Cola shipping and receiving area, which is designated as Urban Mixed Use 20 on the map. It directly abuts a portion of the northern project boundary. This slide shows the adopted future land use categories in the area, with this particular site being designated as residential 9. Residential 9 allows for the consideration of agriculture, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. The maximum density that can be considered in the residential 9 is 9 dwelling units per gross acre, and the maximum intensity for non-residential development is up to 0.50 floor area ratio or 175,000 square feet, whichever is less intense. In addition, non-residential development that exceeds 0.35 floor area ratio must be for office or residential support uses. There's a portion between the 2 subject property areas that's designated as residential 20 on the map, which is that dark brown color. Further north of the area, the subject site is residential 9 and is characterized mainly by single-family residential development. To the south of Causeway, we see office commercial 20, which is the bright red. And those parcels mainly fronting along Causeway with a transition to residential 9 and travel further south. There's also community mixed use 12 and urban mixed use 12 towards the eastern end of this project boundary. And those are located closer to US Highway 301. The request is to change the subject property from residential 9 to residential 20, which is the dark brown color that you see on the map. Residential 20 allows for the same uses that can be considered in residential 9, but it just increases the development potential by increasing the potential density from 9 dwelling units per gross acre to up to 20 dwelling units per gross acre. And with a non-residential intensity, it would go from that 0.50 floor area ratio up to the 0.75 floor area ratio. The proposed change is to better reflect the intensity and density that are currently seen in this area, and that tend to be more intensive in the Causeway Boulevard corridor. As far as impacts are concerned, currently under the residential 9 designation, the site can be considered for up to 916 dwelling units, or approximately 2.2 million square feet of non-residential uses. With the proposed residential 20, the site could be considered for up to 2,037 dwelling units, or approximately 3.3 million square feet of non-residential uses. And overall, the proposed change would allow for an increase in development potential by allowing higher residential density and greater commercial intensity. And that concludes this presentation, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I don't see anyone in the commission with any questions. So this concludes the workshop for the comprehensive plan amendments. Thanks, everyone, and continue to enjoy your day.